heavy smoker, and we became friends almost 20 years ago at the University of Montana in the Masters of Fine Arts Creative Writing program. We both knew that we wanted to be writers, primarily poets, and so we spent some time together there in Missoula, studying.
Eating ourselves completely, studying all the time, and eating vegetables.
Not doing anything else. And so we knew we wanted to be writers, I think, for a long part of our lives. And, we went to school to really study how to be poets, how to write creatively. And that was a really important time for us. And we both ended up writing poetry and having books of poems out in the world. But Thunderous sort of fell into our laps about a year and a half ago. And so we're here primarily to talk about this graphic novel. But if you have any questions about poetry as well, we're happy to talk about that too. I'll just tell you a little bit more about ourselves and sort of how we got here. I'm from Montana. I'm from northeastern Montana, from the Fort Peck Reservation. I'm a member of the Assiniboine and Sioux tribes there. But I have relatives and family both in North Dakota and South Dakota as well. And our book, Thunderous, is set in South Dakota, primarily in Rapid City. And so what else about ourselves? Let's see. I am a teacher, and I was a principal, and I worked for the state of Montana. I was the Indian Education Director. So if any of you went to Montana schools, I hope you learned a little bit about Native Americans, because...
Did any of you receive any Indian education for all curriculum at school? All right, we got a few.
All right, we were doing our
I'm going to
jobs.
ask you questions there.
So I spent 10 years building curriculum and teaching materials and training all of your teachers to be able to talk about Native Americans and to be able to teach you about history, culture, contemporary issues, all the great things that Native Americans have and Indigenous people have shared and helped bring, or not helped bring, but that we're always here in Montana and the United States. And now I work for a nonprofit, and I travel around the country doing the same thing, helping communities and tribes and schools do better in teaching about the First Peoples on this continent. Actually, right now I'm working with the state of New Jersey. By any chance, is anybody from New Jersey?
We got one.
You got one?
Yeah. Do you have any indigenous heritage from New Jersey?
I do not.
Do you know any tribes from New Jersey?
There's two schools, 10 minutes from me, named after Shawnee and Jeffrey.
Okay. So there's...
I didn't know any tribes from New Jersey. I just thought it was industrial waste, so... I'm just kidding.
So I travel around the country helping schools in states like New Jersey that want to teach about Native Americans because they haven't been doing a very good job of it, and they admit that. So that's what I spend most of my time doing, and raising my 10-year-old son, and writing graphic novels. So that's just a little bit about me. We both live in Helena, so just down the road.
Well, I'm 100% white. I always like to tell everyone that right away in case it wasn't obvious. My role in this book was to help with the language and get to know the story, and I supported Mandy and our friend Mato Standing High as they researched some of the Lakota specific aspects of the story, and that's something we're going to talk about in a little while too. Mandy and I ended up working on this novel together, this graphic novel together, primarily because we spent all of lockdown together in a germ bubble. We have kids the same age, and we just decided we didn't want to be home alone with our children, totally. That would have been terrible. So we decided to be all home alone with each other and each other's children. And that involved a little bit of risk, but none of us got sick, actually. And so we spent a lot of time together, like a year, almost every day, with our kids. And someone, Amato, reached out to Mandy to write this graphic novel, and she kept asking me if I would help her, and I kept saying I wasn't sure, and I didn't think so. But as some of
Mato, which he's also Lakota, and Lakota Mato means bear. So Mato had been working with some people, and they said, you know, we have this publishing company, and we don't do a good job of telling the stories, ethnically diverse stories, and especially in graphic novels and comic books. And they asked him if he knew someone that would be really willing to write such a book. You probably don't know this, but you know, children and young adult literature, less than 1% of it is about Native Americans. So that's a huge gap, right?
Let alone written
by Native people. So it's a really small part of the publishing world, and that's, for a long time, that was on purpose. You know, most publishing companies around the country are run by white men, and you know, the stories they gravitate towards are stories often that are similar to their own lived experiences, and so they don't really seek out, and haven't for a long time, stories that are diverse, stories by groups of people, individuals, communities that are misrepresented and misunderstood. Because oftentimes when you're thinking about publishing or telling those kinds of stories, you can become uncomfortable if you don't know that particular background or that particular community. And so it's just a reality that the publishing world has a lot of ground to make up in telling the stories of underrepresented individuals and communities. And so this publisher really wanted to tell an Indigenous story, and so I was brought in to do that. And I'm sure a lot of you have read graphic novels. The part that made me a little worried and why I really wanted to bring Natalie in is there's a lot of dialogue in graphic novels. So folks are interacting with one another, talking through aspects of the story. And that seemed weird to me to try and do that on my own, to try and be conversing with myself through characters. And so having, you know, one of my best friends really help me with that so that we could be a sounding board for one another.
Plus I'm funnier than she is.
She likes that. That we could, you know, really make the dialogue seem authentic, right? I felt like if I was just talking to myself, that was a little weird. And so we really, you know, spent a lot of time working on the dialogue and all of that.
And the other thing we did to make the dialogue authentic was to ask our kids, who are now 2 10-year-olds and a 7-year-old, and we would think of things to say, like, at one point we wanted to use the word word, maybe, and our kids thought that was stupid, they don't use the word word, although it seems like a standard word. They don't use that, they thought it was ridiculous. So we would bounce some of our ideas off our kids, and they definitely critiqued us for that and told us what they thought was stupid and not stupid. And they were a great source of information because the only way I could get my 10-year-old to read was through graphic novels. So they had a great idea of what a good graphic novel was, what to expect when they read a graphic novel, what was a clearly plainly stupid idea that I had. So that helped as well.
But really what we did was, you know, as we've been doing during the pandemic, we sat down at the kitchen table and we just bounced off a bunch of ideas. We knew we wanted the story to follow in a really common tradition for a lot of Indigenous people, sort of this, you know, hero's journey where you encounter trials and tribulations and challenges and then you overcome those. And we have a lot of traditional stories for many different tribes of that sort of same arc, that sort of same tradition, because it's really important as you're trying to, you know, as you're growing and raising up young people, that you have those stories, because then you can help illustrate and demonstrate them to them. You know, that you go through difficult times, there might be obstacles, but here's a story about a person, you know, in our tribe, in our family, that overcame all of that. So we chose to have our, you know, sort of protagonist be a young Lakota girl, maybe 11, 12-ish years old, and that was really important to us. The other thing that was really important to me was that we incorporate aspects of Lakota tradition, Lakota ways of knowing, and Lakota values. And so they're in traditional Lakota tradition, there are 7 values that we really adhere to and hold up. It's a 100-page book, so we couldn't feature all 7 Lakota values, so we chose 3. And our protagonist, her name is Ayana. Ayana goes through this sort of journey, and throughout the journey, she's being taught these values again. She's partially raised by her grandmother, who's been trying to instill them in her, but she's not really listening very well. She's kind of struggling with.
She's on her phone.
She's on her phone. She's struggling with her identity and who she is, right? When you're in middle school and going into high school, you're trying to figure things out. And so that's sort of her story. Another really important thing we wanted to do was to incorporate Lakota language. So we have characters and other pieces where we use Lakota, and then in the back we have a glossary and some definitions that you can go to so you can begin to learn those words, how to pronounce them, and what they mean.
And that was an interesting journey too, because it was hard to find the specifics sometimes for a standard Lakota word for one of the animals, because it's pronounced differently or spelled differently, and so it was an oral language. So we did a lot of checking on that, and we checked with a language expert before we wrote those down. But we do have a disclaimer in the book that, to let people know language is dynamic. It differs from tribe to tribe. People spell things differently, and so we did our best to do that as accurately as we could.
And accuracy and authenticity were really important because the majority of books about Native Americans that were written by non-Native Americans are incorrect. And that's because usually those people don't come from our communities, they don't speak our languages, they don't understand our cultural values, and that there are differences, right? There's differences from sort of, mainstream American, family ideals and what communities look like. They're different for different groups of people and different ethnicities and communities. And so those books, probably a lot of which you might have read as children or have been exposed to, are incorrect. And that's because a lot of times those non-native writers don't care. It really doesn't matter to them if they get it right or wrong, because the majority of people reading them won't ever know, right? You wouldn't know if something was spelled incorrectly. You wouldn't know if a cultural reference about the Lakota was incorrect because, that's not your background. It's not what you're familiar with. But for me, I wanted Lakota communities and children and their parents and grandparents to pick this up and feel like everything was right, that we did not do a disservice to our communities. And even though I'm Lakota, it kept me up at night, making sure that we had everything, every reference, things that we mention and talk about the Lakota language, that it be correct, because I would be ashamed if someone from my community came to me and said, what the hell were you talking about? That's not what we think, and that's not part of the story or tradition. And so I lived with that fear for a very long time. So having other experts help us was really important.
And that fear was really legitimate, because we got an outline from our publisher that had things in there that were not Lakota specific. So maybe some Googling or some generalizations that someone might have thought of that were incorrect. And some of that was a creation story that wasn't relevant to the Lakota. We're not even sure where that came from. It's about the ocean, and I don't know if you know where South Dakota is, but probably not many waves lapping up over there. Other things were small misrepresentations about food. I think someone had watched Reservation Dogs. Have you guys seen that? Is it on Hulu? You should watch it. It's amazing. And sort of integrated some Cherokee meat pies into the story. That is another thing here. So it's stuff like that that maybe
Native Americans, usually there's like a couple of things that come to mind for you. And so we all think of, Native Americans as these, sort of stereotypical, there's that one image or that one thing we think we know about natives or who natives are. And the truth is, there are over 500 tribes in the United States. And they're all very, very, very different, right? So if you're from Montana, we tend to think of the Plains tribes and teepees and hunting for buffalo. But there are, over 450 tribes that for them, that's nothing like what, their ancestors did or what their contemporary life is like. There are tribes on the coast of California, Oregon, and Washington, that fishing was extremely important to them and their way to survive. There are tribes in the southeast, that lived, in the marshes and the Everglades, and that environment was really important to them. Tribes in the southwest, where you're in the desert, and it's an entirely different landscape and environment. So, it's really important to remember that, books like this are so important from many different tribes so that young people growing up get a sense of an understanding that there's great, great diversity among Native peoples. And there's not just one way, one particular tribe or sort of monolith.
Any questions so far? I promise to do this to you. Has anyone in here ever written a script for like a screenplay or a graphic novel?
Or a play.
Or a play? Play? Okay, a few. That's really hard, by the way. That's harder than writing poetry as far as I know. What we found out right away about how to write a graphic novel was that it's highly scripted and very difficult. And it was confusing and terrible because in a lot of ways all the ideas we had got crunched down to these tiny little boxes of dialogue or information, and so that was incredibly difficult. And so basically the way it starts is a scene, some background information about what that might look like, a line or two of dialogue, some sound effects, boom, wham, pow, and then on to the next. So you can see from our example here, this one has quite a few words. But we're trying to convey this first interaction with the trickster in the story, or Raven. And that was probably a page. And I just went down to those notes. Anybody know what a trickster figure is, or have talked about that before? Brave enough to talk about it? I'll let Mindy explain.
Come on, we were just with a bunch of fifth graders.
I'll give you a
They couldn't stop
free
talking
book
about
if
trickster.
someone knows what a trickster is. Nobody? You're scared of Mandy. It's okay. She'll worry you. No?
Leprechaun.
That's a great example. They make such a mess. Very good.
Yes.
Good delivery of this.
So tricksters they come in different forms. Leprechauns. They all
The
across.
Irish trickster.
The Irish trickster. They're very common in old stories, and they're there to cause a bit of mischief. They're there to sort of be confusing at times, and to maybe try to push a character or a person in the wrong direction on purpose. And they're there to teach a lesson, usually. So in some cases, trickster figures, around the world, they can be dangerous, they're sneaky, and they're conniving. Our trickster, it's common in Lakota that tricksters they come in the form of a coyote or a raven. In other cultures, sometimes it's a snake. It just really depends. But they're important to stories because they're trying to make the protagonist or the character confused and to try and cause a bit of, again, mischief in the story. But we want to go back to actually creating a graphic novel, because other than writing it, what's the other most important part? drawings.
Does it look like we could do that?
We're not artists.
We didn't do that.
And it was really important that for our publisher, for us, that they find a native author, a native artist. So we were really grateful that a man named Dale DeForest, he's Navajo, he lives in Albuquerque, and he does a lot of comic book art. He's really talented. And he agreed to come on to our project and do all of our art. And Dale is amazing because Natalie and I, again, we outlined the story, we built out some of the dialogue, and then all Dale did was take that and create these amazing drawings. Like, we didn't tell him to, do any of that. He read our story and our narrative and pulled that out of his own mind.
I want to joke it's because our script is so well written. But actually, Dale's kind of a genius. He never called us and said, oh, how did you want that crow represented? Or what do you think this facial expression should be like? He just did it. He just knows how to do it. So he kind of saved our butts in a lot of ways. And we really love him.
Well, and he's a storyteller, through his artistry. And so he really magnified our whole story, amplified it, made it so much better than we could have ever really imagined. So.
And the other thing that we really focused on was setting. Has anyone been to the Black Hills or the Badlands in South Dakota? It's stunning, right? It's so barren and can only be thoughtful, probably lonely there. So we gave Dale some slides to show specifically what we were looking for in the representation of the Badlands. All the animals that we included really do live there. We didn't make anything up.
And so in our outline, as Natalie says, we would say Badlands, and then we would go on the internet and find a picture of the Badlands. It's kind of a representation there. And Natalie would put it in the margin so that he could see sort of so he wasn't operating from nothing. And then for our characters, like we have a bison, Tatanka, that is a very big part of our story, and we would put what we wanted Tatanka's sort of characteristics to be, that he was, steadfast, but also friendly, that he was funny. And so that Dale had what we were describing the animals and our characters as, so that he could build that sort of personality into the drawings.
And there are some things that are a little fantastic in the book. There's a spider called Tommy. That's part of the Lakota World Vision. It scares children, which I'm happy for, but it's also something maybe that you wouldn't expect. We did use some images of spiders from the mountains. There's some Thunderous spiders out there, you guys, in the caves and the badlands, and he sort of worked on it from there. And so all of those things are part of what we were trying to do to be close and tribally specific, to really think about that. And the Blackout Peak. Has anyone ever heard of a book called Blackout Speaks? You should look it up. So Blackout Peak is depicted in the book, and that is a spiritual place for the Lakota people. Now you can go there on a bus. Ayana goes there with her class on a field trip. But it's a place where things happen, and there's a lot of traditional storytelling around things that are important that happen in that place. So that was also something that was placed in tribally specific. And we also did incorporate a star story that I think is really interesting. Whenever I studied astrology and learned the name of the constellations, it was like Orion and the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper and the Seven Sisters. And that's what I always thought of when I sat in my hot tub and looked at the stars. But imagine that Educe people have their own star stories and their own constellations and their own understandings of the stories behind the stars. And they seem to be a lot more interesting than ours. For example,
They're very scary, actually.
Everybody knows what Orion looks like, Orion's belt. In Lakota culture, it's actually the top of the belt and coming down as a hand. And then the story behind it is
a Lakota chief was not being very respectful to, we call it's called the Wakian, but it's the thunderbird beings. And it's when we had a giant storm that sort of comes onto the plains. Native people saw thunderbirds in those cloud formations, and so that's what we call it. And they're very sacred beings, but the thunderbirds, the Wakian, got mad at this chief for being disrespectful, and so they cut off his hand, and then they hung his hand as the Orion constellation. So
That's way more interesting. And brutal. It's like, I'm not gonna mess up because I broke my hand. Good consequences. So that was something we looked at too, finding a source for Lakota constellations. Do you guys think that was easy? There's one book out there, found it. And the reason we chose that book is because it was written at the tribal college and printed through them. And so
Native elders had told the story, so we knew it was a reliable source. It's not like you can just Google that story and some stuff comes up, right? You have to find a primary source, usually an elder that has known that story and it's been passed down to them for, 100 generations. And so you have to find those really valid sources so that you're not, again, misrepresenting a really sacred and important story.
yeah, and I think that we had access to those experts and those folks that we could ask because Nancy herself is Lakota, and that's really important in ordering call on people and really answer me. So I tell them I know Mandy. And so that's why it's important for the stories to be told by Indigenous people. There's lots of things, but it also has to do with checking out authenticity and having those conversations and collaborating.
Any questions so far? If you ask a question, we'll give you a book.
Yep, you ask a question, we'll do the all right, we got one.
What are some other stories that you've kind of incorporated into the graphic novel? Like Native American culture has always been something like interesting, just because of how many stories they have about nature. Do you have any other stories like wrapped up into that book?
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
had a hard time condensing it it's 97 pages, so it's excruciating. So we had a lot of ideas, and we'll tell you some of the brilliant ideas that aren't. But one of the things we wanted to talk about was we wanted to talk about Lakota values and integrate them with an experience that Ayana had on her journey with some of the animals she met. So one of the Lakota values we really focused on was kinship. Can you imagine any animals from South Dakota or the Badlands that would represent kinship? You can do it. Bryson's good. Anything else? A pack of wolves. You're a star student, you're already into wolves, so I can't give you more. A pack of wolves, right? You think of familial ties with wolves. We can probably stick together. We can probably accomplish things together. And so at one point in the story, Ayana actually helps out a pack of wolves by being generous and kind and attentive. And they pay her back by accompanying her on her journey. They take her into their pack and they're not just going to leave her, right? So that's one important story that comes from the book and for the book.
Well, I was thinking about the land. We talked about, we had a land acknowledgement earlier, but land itself is obviously really, really important to Indigenous people. And, we wanted to feature, animals that were very specific to this landscape and allow them to sort of, as Natalie said, be who they are. And that's also a story in and of itself. We have an eagle and we have a porcupine in our story, and they're all part of their own. We have stories about them as well, about the important things that they do to help humans, because obviously, as Lakota people, we don't look at animals as though they're like subservient to us. They are they're our relatives, and they have helped us survive in Montana and South and North Dakota forever. And without their gifts, without their support, our ancestors would not have been able to survive. So if you think about bison in particular, and how essential they were to not only providing a food source, but that their robes became our clothing and our blankets and our teepees. Other parts of their intestines were used to create bags. Their horns were used to create cups. All parts of them were very, very important. And so, again, just knowing that these are animals, that these are our brothers and sisters, that have lived with us forever, and that Ayana gets to experience them. In many of our stories, they can talk. They're very, present beings, and many times, in stories, they're wiser and more capable and more equipped than we are as humans. And so, just trying to build part of that into.
Yeah, and I think Ayana, one of the things she really needs to learn is the concept of generosity, and she learns that while some of these animals are being generous to her, and she really needs it. So that's something that helps her to come to the awareness about how to view this world. Oh, you got a question?
We chose generosity, kinship, and fortitude. Why those three? We talk a lot about all 7 of them. For me personally, kinship and generosity are just 2 of the ones that I really resonate with, and so we thought that those would be good ones to sort of demonstrate through the story that we thought was developing.
And also how to stay connected to your culture when you have to leave. Because I needed to leave the reservation. She really misses that. Her cousin really misses, just having the cookout, just sitting out with everybody and all our aunties and cousins. So how do you stay connected to something like that when you need to leave? And that maybe understands that from her own childhood.
Since there is so much about the culture that's misrepresented, are you going to be working on any more novels to create more stories to show her?
We are. There's another character, Ayana's younger cousin. His name is Kola, and in Lakota, Kola means friend. And he's really a good friend and relative to her. And, we thought it would be fun at some point to sort of tell more of his story. But there's a whole other graphic novel that this is really for 8 to sort of 12-year-olds. And the next one we want to write will be more for like 10 to 14. And it'll be a longer graphic novel, but it won't be about these characters.
How do you find a lot of the connections, like the translator and the other stories?
Well, my good friend who lives in South Dakota, we asked him to talk specifically to some of his elders, and then I had a good friend who used to live in Montana but now lives in South Dakota, who's really big in Lakota language revitalization. A lot of indigenous languages, there's only, there could be a dozen or 20, 50, maybe 100 speakers of them left in the world. And he's my age, and he's trying to do that work in South Dakota. So I've reached out to him to help us with that.
In the beginning, we were talking about being on its own. Can you really explore that in the book? Issue?
Being on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have children, so, my God. Adele does not have a phone, she's pretty nice about it, but
We were thinking about our young character, and in a lot of ways, some of her story resonates with my story, some of her of growing up, and some of her story resonates with my niece, who's 18, but she's grown up with us, and we thought about her and sort of, in that age period and what she was going
and
through.
Helena actually looks like her. We sent a picture of Erica, you have it on the street.
So we knew that technology, somehow probably should factor into the story because it's a contemporary story. And I mean, you can't tell a story about a teenager right now and not have a phone be a part of it. That would seem too phony.
But we didn't name the social media channel because we were like, we couldn't be on. Like, what if we had chosen Twitter? And it's already practicing. So that was smart.
And that was a good way to sort of represent, as contemporary Native American people, we use all the same technology, and we don't live in teepees anymore, and we're modern just like everybody else. But we also have, and Iona goes through this, we have, cultures and traditions and values and stories that are, 1,000 years old. And so, for her trying to understand how all of that sort of old stuff that her grandma and other family members are trying to teach her, how is that relevant? Why is that meaningful today to her? When she's on TikTok or Twitter and she's trying to fit in and she wants more followers and she wants to make new friends and just really fit in, not necessarily be popular, but just to feel like she has a place and that she's not an outsider. So she's sort of struggling with those two things. So, having modern technology up against these very, very old stories that people memorized and sat around campfires and made sure that they were passed down from one generation to the next for over 50 to 75, 100 generations. There's a big contrast there, right? There's a big difference. And are we at risk of losing all of that, in the face of all these modern sort of advancements?
Do you see your generation as being affected by being on the phone a lot?
Yes. So I was wondering, is it necessarily like a comment on if our phones good or bad? But it sounds like it's a little bit more nuanced now, which I think I appreciate a lot of times. Phone is terrible. Then I get to the age to her audiences. It's like, well, they know.
Some because of language apps are out there where kids are
Learning on their phones. Yeah. Well, and let's be real, yes, colonization happened, settlers, all, moved across this country, and there was a lot of really terrible things that happened historically. It was a lot of damage done. But Indian people were also real, and when new technological advancements came, if you could heat up water in a way rather than using the gallbladder of a buffalo, and you could use a kettle pot, you would take the kettle pot, right? So we've never been like, oh, let's, not think about modern, things that can help our lives be easier. We always, took all of those things and used them. Do you like the gallbladder story? That's true story. That's how we used to heat up water.
But I also think phones and self-reliance have an interesting tango these days. I know that when I can't find my phone or something, I get a little panicky. And, it's like, wow, when's the last time I spent a couple days in the woods without my phone? And what was I thinking about? And it's just something to explore.
Yeah. And so Iona goes on this sort of magical realistic journey, and where she does encounter animals that can speak, and she's got to figure out a plan and needs help. She doesn't have her phone, and so she's got to think back to those old stories, those traditional stories, to help navigate her.
Like the star story we were talking about, which our grandmother.
So, kind of speaking about oral histories and cultures that use oral histories, what do you see as the future of that when those languages begin to die out? Like, do you think it's important to have them written down, or would you consider it more important to keep them as oral histories?
That's a good question. I think, I'll just say this before I answer that question. There's, in any, two things. First of all, every place you came from, your ancestors came from, they all had oral stories. They all did, right? We may have forgotten some of them along the way, but that's how we survived. It's how we entertained ourselves as people, whether you're from Scotland or France or Germany. So everybody had storytelling, right? Oral traditions were important everywhere. And for Native people, our oral stories were born from our languages, from Lakota, right? And there are things you say in Lakota that you can't say in English, right? There are words that don't translate. One of my favorite words in my language is the word for grizzly bear. When you really translate it to English, it means bad, holy thing. Which doesn't that sound like better than grizzly bear?
Much more specific. The moment of death. So those stories aren't the same when they're told in English as they are when they're told in our native languages. Absolutely. And it isn't really for me to say, but it's really up to tribes and communities and elders to decide for themselves, do they want those stories written down? Do they want them recorded? There are some that don't, and they want to continue to pass them down orally. There are others that are like, holy crap, we have to do everything we can because if this vanishes, what does that mean, right? So people have different approaches, and it really isn't up to us, right? It's to the people that those stories and languages belong to. They have to decide for themselves how they want that to go in the future. We were just in Oklahoma City for the National Indian Education Conference, and we were able to do the whole thing at the First Americans Museum, which is only about a year old, and how much did it cost? $5 million? It's this beautiful building, and there in that part of Oklahoma was a mound culture, and I found out as I visited the museum that there was a sophisticated city of 30,000 people, agriculture, training, all kinds of great stuff. It wasn't empty, okay? There was a lot going on there. One of the things that impressed us a lot about that museum is how interactive it was. So, for example, there would be a little circular cubby with a big fireplace, and you'd walk in and sit down and hear the voice of an elder tell you story. Or there was a big room about half this size with a circular, humongous handstand, and then there were animated creation stories running across it. And we both went to the American Indian Museum in Washington, D.C., which is incredible. But this place wasn't like an artifact at a little platform. I mean, you could hear it, you could feel it, you could see it. And so I thought that was a great progression of how to share something culturally. And I learned a lot about the Cherokee and their past that I didn't know, that I'd never read. And so it would be great if we saw more of that. And that was it was about the tribes from that area, which I didn't know much about before. So I learned a lot, but I was able to retain it, right? Because I wasn't just reading the plaque and looking at something in that case. It was being done into this dynamic way, so that would be really cool.
But combining sort of both of those things is it's good to know that for Indigenous people and for people from other cultural groups and other communities, there's sort of levels of cultural knowledge. And there are things that, say being a Lakota person, I'm willing to share and talk about with anybody, right? It's okay. And then there can be like this middle ground where, you know, you might share them with more, you know, your special friends or people that you trust that you know will respect and, you know, have regard for that information. And then there's another level of more private cultural knowledge, cultural just things that we do, the way we, you know, interact, kinship, the way we think about star stories and the cosmos. Some of those things are more private, and we're not so willing to share those things. So it's just, you know, I don't know that in, you know, regular sort of society and you know, general sort of American, you know, thought, are there things that, you know, we sometimes share with everybody, and then things that we don't share that they're private. You might have that in your own families, right? Things that you're like, no, that's very specific to our family, and we hold that really close. And that's the same for other cultural groups, right? So not everything is for public consumption. There are things that sort of, they span this.
Our friend Deborah is like, if we told those stories, these more people wouldn't understand them anyway, so we can remain sacred. Any more questions?
Is there a particular age or spread that you remember going back to, you know,
In the book, there are part that has really special meanings.
Well, for me, there's a page with the buffalo, and he shelters Ayana through the night. This is probably pretty brutal. And my 10-year-old daughter Adela says she loves that because I remind her of the buffalo because I'm taking care of her, so that's my favorite part.
My favorite part is our cousin character, Kola. He's an artist, and he's also, he likes the stories, the traditional stories, and he's holding on to them, whereas Ayana can't quite figure out what to do with them yet. And she gets annoyed with him at the beginning of the book, because he's like, hey, we're going to Blackout Peak. Do you know who Blackout was? And he's trying to, and he's younger than her, and he's trying to get her interested in it. And she sort of really rudely sort of pushes him away. And I like at the very end of the book, she's gone through this really epic journey, and she now realizes how important those stories are. And she's asking him to forgive her because she was so mean to him earlier. And she, you know, she says, you gotta keep writing those stories, you gotta keep writing, creating those pictures, because it's really important. And she says, who knows, someday maybe there'll be a graphic novel about these Lakota stories. So I like that we were able to sort of make this bridge, because he's doing something really important. And, you know, we really hope that more young Native people in particular begin to create their own stories in their own ways. And we really also hope that a lot of, you know, young Native people will feel very compelled and inspired by Dale's art, and that they'll start creating their own art too.
And Dale is on Instagram, Dale the Forest, and he has a lot of characters that are maybe remind you of a traditional superhero, but they're Native.